Before we start, let me ask you something. How long has it been since you felt truly light? Not just fine, not just managing, but actually light as if there were some breathing room inside you, some space between your thoughts, some quiet at the center of your day. If you had to think hard to answer that question, you're in exactly the right place. Maybe you came to this recording because something in you said enough. Enough busyness, enough noise, enough lying awake at night. Your mind won't stop. Enough moving fast through your life and somehow feeling like you're standing still inside it. Or maybe you don't even know exactly why you're here. You know something feels off, not broken, not catastrophic, just a little off balance, a little too crowded in there. That's enough. That feeling is enough reason. Here's what I believe, and what this entire journey is built on. The chaos you feel outside, the overwhelm, the distraction, the exhaustion, almost always starts inside. In the thoughts you carry without examining them, in the emotions you push down because there's no time to feel them, in the clutter, physical, digital, mental, that you've let pile up without realizing how much space it takes up. This is an 8-step journey to clear some of that. Not by adding more systems, more strategies, more things to do, but by simplifying, by returning, by finding, beneath all the noise, the version of you that truly knows what it needs. I'm not here to hand you a prescription. I'm here to walk with you. Are you ready? Then, let's begin. Step 1. Notice. Awakening your inner compass. The first step isn't doing anything. It's the hardest step for most of us. It's simply noticing. We live in a world that is relentlessly, furiously loud. Your phone buzzes before your alarm even goes off. The news cycle never stops. Social media never stops. Your to-do list never stops. And in the middle of all that noise, all those voices telling you what to care about, what to buy, what to worry about, and who to be, the one voice that matters most gets buried. Your own. Most people haven't heard their own inner voice clearly in years. Not because it's gone anywhere. It hasn't. It's been there the whole time, quietly trying to get through. But the noise is so constant, so well designed to demand your attention, that the whisper inside you can't compete. So the first thing we're going to do is turn down the volume on everything else. Silence isn't emptiness. I want you to hear this. Most people, when they imagine silence, picture something uncomfortable, hollow, something to fill as quickly as possible. But true silence isn't empty. It's full. It has texture and depth. It's the place where your mind finally slows to a pace that lets you read what's happening inside it. Here's a small practice. Not a big commitment, just a small one. Today, find one ordinary moment and spend it without input. Drink your morning coffee and look out the window. No phone, no podcast, just coffee and the view. Or take 5 minutes before bed and exist. Lie there, don't scroll. Don't plan. Just breathe and notice what surfaces in the quiet. At first, it might feel restless, uncomfortable, like you're doing nothing. But that feeling, that pull to fill the silence, is information. It's telling you how long it's been since you were truly with yourself. Stay in it anyway. Now, here's the first real question on this journey. Where are you right now? Not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Are you tired? If so, tired of what exactly? Are you feeling scattered? If so, what is pulling you in too many directions? Are you disconnected from your sense of self? From what you truly want? From what once felt meaningful? If you can't answer these questions right now, that's okay. Most of us can't, not at first. We've been moving so fast, managing so much, that we've lost touch with our inner map. We know where we're going, in a calendar sense. We don't always know where we are, in a human sense. Getting clear about where you are right now is the foundation of everything that follows, because you cannot navigate from a place you won't acknowledge. Grab a notebook or your phone or the back of an envelope and try to answer just a few questions. How do you wake up in the morning? With a feeling of peace or a feeling of bracing? What thought takes up the most space in your head right now? When was the last time you were truly, fully alone with yourself, not lonely, but solitary and at ease with it? Does the life you're living right now feel like it's yours? Your answers might surprise you. They might even sting a little. That's not failure. That's contact. That's you making honest contact with your experience for the first time in a while. And then there's the inner compass. Everyone has one. It's not mystical, it's simply the part of you that knows when something is right and when it isn't. It shows up as a subtle resistance when you agree to do something you don't want to. There is an unexpected lightness when a decision aligns with who you actually are. It's that thought in the back of your mind, the one you've been shushing, that says, this isn't quite right for me. The compass doesn't shout. It never raises its voice. It works through quiet signals, a slight unease, a flicker of excitement, a sense of meaning that rises when you're on the right track. To hear it, you have to slow down enough to listen. You have to stop outsourcing your sense of direction to others' opinions and expectations long enough to check in with yourself. Ask yourself often, does this feel right to me? Does it make me feel lighter or heavier? Is this what I want or what I've been convinced I should want? The right direction has always come from within you. Step 1 is to learn to listen again. Step 2, clean up your physical space. Your home is a mirror. I want you to look around the space you're in right now. How does it feel? Not how it looks. How does it feel to be in it? Is there something restful in the air, or something slightly pressed, a little too full, a little unresolved? Here's something most of us don't fully appreciate. The spaces we inhabit shape our inner state. Your home is not just a backdrop to your life. It's a living reflection of it. The clutter in your living room corresponds to something. The stacks on your desk are not neutral. The drawer you keep shoving things into and then slamming shut, that's information too. I'm not saying this to add anxiety about your closets. I'm saying it because genuine relief is available to you by cleaning up the physical space around you. Not a dramatic whole house overhaul, just the beginning of a shift. Here's what's remarkable. As your physical space lightens, something in your mind lightens too. It's not just symbolism. Clutter genuinely competes for your attention. Every unfinished thing in your visual field is a small, open loop in your mind. Every pile you haven't dealt with is a persistent, low-level background noise. When you clear even a corner of it, one drawer, one surface, or one shelf, you free something inside you. Your bond with things. The harder part of this isn't the logistics, it's the emotions. We hold on to objects not for the objects themselves, but for what they mean. The dress in the back of the closet isn't just a dress, it's tied to who you thought you'd be when you bought it. The half-finished book isn't just paper, it's a little knot of unresolved intention. The broken thing you keep meaning to fix is a tiny promissory note to a future self who probably isn't coming. As you move through your space, ask yourself honestly, does this object make you feel lighter or heavier? Does it connect you to something good that still belongs in your life? Or does it hold you in a past you've already moved beyond? Here's a practice that sounds simple but has real power. When you let something go, don't just throw it away. Say goodbye to it. Pick it up, hold it for a moment, then say silently or aloud, "Thank you for what you brought to my life. I'm releasing you now." This isn't about ceremony for its own sake. It's about honoring the process of moving forward. Every object you release with gratitude, rather than guilt or resentment, is a small act of making peace with who you were then and of choosing who you are now. You are not what you own, and the lighter you travel physically, the lighter you tend to feel elsewhere. Step 3. Clean up your digital world. The invisible clutter. Okay, let's talk about your phone. You pick it up in the morning before your eyes are fully open. You pick it up when you have 2 quiet minutes and they immediately stop being quiet. You find yourself scrolling without knowing why you opened it. You check it during conversations, at meals, and in the middle of thoughts you needed to finish. This is not a character flaw. It is intentional. The digital world is engineered with extraordinary precision and enormous budgets to grab your attention and hold it. Every notification, every endless feed, every metric of likes and views is optimized to keep you coming back, not because it serves you, but because your attention is the product. But you are not required to hand it over. Digital clutter is real clutter. A messy desk is visible, you can see it, feel it, and be bothered enough to deal with it eventually. But a cluttered phone, an overflowing inbox, a desktop covered in files, this mess is invisible. And an invisible mess is the most insidious kind. It's always there, always consuming a fraction of your attention, always creating a subtle background hum of overwhelm, yet you never quite see it clearly enough to do something about it. Every tab you have open in your browser is an unfinished thought your mind is tracking. Every unread email is a small, persistent nudge toward obligation. Every app cluttering your home screen is a tiny advertisement for where your attention could be, rather than where it is. Now, a digital detox. What does it actually mean? It doesn't mean deleting your accounts and retreating to a cabin. It means becoming mindful of what you consume and why. It means asking the question your attention has never had space for, is this serving me? Start small. Today, mute notifications for everything except those who genuinely need to reach you. That single act will change the texture of your day. This week, identify 3 to 5 apps you open out of habit rather than genuine need. Delete them for 7 days, just 7, and notice what fills that space. Probably nothing catastrophic. Probably something like a little quiet, a little more presence in the room you're actually standing in. Here's something practical. Screen-free time in the morning and at night. Don't let the first thing your brain receives each day be a flood of other people's information. Those first quiet minutes in the morning belong to you. Use them. Drink your water. Breathe. Let your mind arrive gently to the day before the world rushes in. At night, the last 40 minutes before sleep should be screen-free, not because this is a wellness rule, but because your brain genuinely needs time to wind down from stimulation, and screens are the kind of stimulation that prevents that. Build a simplified digital system. Organize your apps into categories. Cancel the subscriptions you forgot you had. Clean out your inbox. Review the following list of social media accounts and ask, honestly, which of these accounts make you feel better after seeing them, and which ones make you feel quietly worse about yourself or your life? The goal is this. Technology should be a tool you use consciously, not a current that carries you without your permission. You decide where your attention goes. That's yours to reclaim. Step 4. Organize your mind. Transforming your thought patterns. Here's a sentence I want you to sit with. Not every thought that passes through your mind is the truth. Read that again. Not every thought is true. We think of thoughts as things that happen to us, automatic, involuntary, just there when we look inside. In one sense, that's correct. Thoughts do arise on their own. But the way we relate to them, whether we believe them automatically, whether we obey them, whether we treat every recurring worry as a verified fact, is learned. And what's learned can be unlearned. Recognizing the loops. Most people have a handful of core negative thoughts that run in the background. They might sound like, I can't do it anyway. It always goes wrong for me. I'm not good enough. Nobody really understands me. This is just who I am. These aren't thoughts in the usual sense, they're habits. They've run so long, repeated so often, that they feel like facts rather than interpretations. Because they feel like facts, we stop questioning them. We carry them around as though they're true, and they quietly shape every decision we make. The first step is simply noticing them without fighting or immediately replacing them, just catching them. When you're in a hard moment, pause and ask, what's going on inside me right now? What's the thought beneath this feeling? Write it down if you can. Getting a thought out of your head and onto paper does something important. It externalizes it. Suddenly, you're looking at the thought rather than looking through it. From that outside perspective, you can ask, is this actually true, or is it just familiar? Then and only then can you begin to shift it. Not by forcing yourself to think positively. Forced positivity doesn't work and feels hollow, but by finding a slightly more accurate version of the story. I can't do it anyway. Times becomes times I don't yet know if I can do it, and that's different. It always goes wrong for me. Times becomes times. Some things have gone wrong, and some have gone right. Today is new. I'm not good enough. Times becomes times I'm in the middle of growing. That's not the same as being insufficient. These shifts feel small. They are small. But habits change through repetition, through gentleness, and through patient consistency over time. Mental minimalism. Imagine your mind as a table. Now picture everything piled on top of it. Worries about the future, replays of the past, other people's expectations, half-formed plans, things you said, things you should have said, things you're afraid of, things you're waiting for. The table is full. There is no surface left. Mental minimalism is the practice of clearing the table. Not by forcing yourself to stop thinking. That doesn't work either. But by developing a relationship with your thoughts that's more like a filter than a floodgate. Not every thought needs your full attention. Not every concern deserves a response. Not every worry that knocks on the door needs to be let in and offered a seat. You get to choose what to focus on. You get to direct your mental energy. Here's a practical question to ask about any recurring thought. What is this thought doing for me right now? Is it helping me solve a problem, or is it just cycling? If it's cycling, if it's a worry about something you can't act on right now, you're allowed to set it down. You don't have to carry everything at once. Focus and clarity. One final point, and it matters. You cannot focus on everything. Trying to keep every priority, every task, every relationship, and every goal at the front of your mind at once does not make you more capable. It makes you more scattered, more tired, and, paradoxically, less effective. Every morning, ask yourself one question. What are the 3 most important things I can accomplish today? Not 30, 3, maybe 2. Certainly not an overly ambitious list that will make you feel behind before you've even started. Focus isn't a natural state. It's a practice. You choose it over and over against the constant pull of everything competing for your attention. But when you find it even briefly, even imperfectly, there's something almost restful about it, the freedom of being in something rather than hovering at the surface of many things. Step 5. Release emotional burdens. Understanding, not suppressing. This is the step most people overlook. Not because they don't need it, usually it's the one they need most, but because it's uncomfortable, because emotions are messy, because somewhere along the way most of us were taught explicitly or by example that managing your emotions means not showing them. Stay calm. Keep it together. Don't let them see you struggle. Don't be too much. And so we learned to suppress, to push down, to put a lid on the feeling and move on. The problem is that emotions don't go away when you suppress them. They go underground. They show up as tension in your shoulders, as irritability that comes from nowhere, as a kind of low-grade numbness like the lights are on but the colors aren't quite vivid, as unexplained headaches, stomach problems, or a general sense that something is slightly wrong, even when nothing specific is. Suppressed emotions don't disappear. They become illegible. Emotions are not your enemies. They are information. They are your inner compass, using signals, urgency, alarm, tenderness, grief to tell you what's happening in your world and what you need. Anger, most of the time, is not a flaw. It's a signal that a boundary has been crossed, that something you care about is being disrespected or violated. If you suppress your anger, you lose that signal. You lose the ability to protect what matters to you. Sadness is not a weakness. It's the body processing loss of a person, a plan, or a version of your life you'd imagined. When you let sadness be felt, it moves through. When you bottle it, it stays. Fear isn't something to be ashamed of. It's your nervous system trying to keep you safe. The question isn't whether to feel it, it's whether the fear points to something real and current or something old and imagined. How to work with your emotions, not against them. Step 1. Name the emotion. Not just, I feel bad. Bad is not an emotion. What is it, specifically? Hurt, lonely, disappointed, resentful, scared? The more specifically you name it, the less power it has to overwhelm you. Naming something makes it smaller. It makes it knowable. Step 2. Ask what it's telling you. Underneath every emotion is a message and a need. What is this feeling trying to show me? And what do I need right now? Maybe you need rest. Maybe you need to say something that's been stuck in your throat. Maybe you need contact with a person, with nature, with your own body. Maybe you need to acknowledge a loss you've been pretending didn't happen. Step 3. Find a way to express it, not to explode it outward at whoever happens to be nearby, but to give it somewhere to go. Write it in a journal, pour it out, uncensored, without editing. Talk to someone you trust, not to be fixed, but to be heard. Move your body. Sometimes grief, anger, and fear are stored in the muscles and need physical movement to release. Create something. Draw, write, cook, or build. Give the emotion a form outside your body. What grows inside you is because there's no room for it to move around. Honoring the past, living in the present. Many of the emotional burdens we carry aren't about today. They're about things that happened years, sometimes decades ago, things we never fully processed because we lacked the tools or the safety to do so at the time. The past cannot be changed, but its hold on you can be loosened. Start by acknowledging what happened, plainly and without dramatizing it. It happened. It was real. It affected you. You didn't deserve it, or maybe you made a mistake. Either way, it happened, and you've been carrying its weight ever since. Then ask, how is this past event shaping how I act today? Not looking to blame or analyze endlessly to see the connection. When you can clearly see that a present pattern stems from a past wound, you suddenly have a choice about it that you didn't have when it was invisible. And forgiveness. This is widely misunderstood, so let me say it plainly. Forgiveness is not approval. It does not mean what happened was okay. It does not require an apology from the person who hurt you, nor does it require you to maintain a relationship with them. Forgiveness means you choose to stop letting that old wound be the center of your energy, not because they deserve your release, but because you do. Carrying resentment long-term is exhausting. It keeps you mentally stuck in an event that is over. It drains energy that could be going toward the life you actually want to build. You can put the weight down. You don't have to keep carrying it anymore. And while you're at it, don't forget to forgive yourself for the decisions you made when you didn't know better, for the things you said or left unsaid, for the ways you abandoned yourself while trying to survive. You were doing the best you could with what you had. You know more now. That's the point. Step 6. Build your inner strength. Understanding stress and anxiety. Let's talk about stress and anxiety, not to make them sound manageable in a dismissive way, but to understand what they are and what they're trying to do. Here's the thing. Stress is not your enemy. Neither is anxiety exactly. Stress is your internal alarm system. It activates when something needs your attention, a deadline, a danger, relationship friction, or a sense that something important is at stake. Without stress, you wouldn't respond to anything. You'd drift. The problem isn't stress itself. The problem is chronic stress, when the alarm stays on even when nothing urgent is happening. When your nervous system, conditioned by weeks, months, or years of high alert living, forgets how to come down from the ceiling, when that happens, the stress response stops protecting you and starts depleting you. Reading your stress signals. The first skill is simply recognizing what stress looks and feels like in your body, because it's different for everyone. Some people become irritable and sharp when stressed. Others go quiet and flat. Some get headaches. Others get stomach problems. Some procrastinate obsessively. Others go into overdrive. Some can't sleep. Others can't get out of bed. Ask yourself, what does my body do when I'm stressed? How does my thinking change? What behaviors appear? When you know your personal stress signature, you can catch it early before it escalates into a full-scale physical and emotional crisis. Then find the source. Stress rarely comes from one big thing. It comes from accumulation from the pile of small, unresolved tensions that nobody ever addresses because each seems too minor to make a fuss over. The difficult conversation you keep postponing. The boundary you haven't set, the responsibility you said yes to but didn't want. The thing you're doing but don't believe in. When you find the source or sources, you have options. Some things you can address directly. Some you can simplify. Some you can release. And some you genuinely cannot control. The practice there is in stopping the fight with reality and finding your equilibrium within it. Anxiety and the what-if spiral. Anxiety works a little differently from acute stress. While stress tends to be about something present, something happening right now, anxiety lives in the future. It's the mind running scenarios. What if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if something happens to the people I love? The mind, when anxious, genuinely tries to protect you. It's trying to prepare. But it tends to dramatically overestimate the likelihood of bad outcomes and underestimate your ability to handle them. A useful practice when anxiety is spiraling: test the thought. Is there evidence that this feared outcome is likely? What has happened in similar situations? If the worst case happened, could I handle it? Almost always, the honest answer to that last question is yes, I'd handle it somehow. We're more resilient than anxiety gives us credit for being. The other crucial shift: identify your sphere of genuine influence. Anxiety loves to park itself on things you cannot control. Your job is to keep asking, what can I actually affect here? Put your energy there. Let the rest go, not because it doesn't matter, but because clinging to what you cannot control only adds to the burden without changing anything. The unexpected gift of learning to be alone. There's one more piece of inner strength worth discussing, and it's learning to make peace with solitude. Loneliness and being alone are not the same. Loneliness is an emotional experience, a feeling of disconnection, of not mattering, of being invisible. You can feel lonely in a crowded room. Being alone is simply a physical state, the absence of other people from your immediate space. Many people have become genuinely afraid of being alone because when the external noise stops, the internal noise grows louder, the unresolved feelings surface, the uncomfortable thoughts have nowhere to hide. But here's the alternative. Being with yourself consistently and with practice becomes nourishing. You become your own company. You're quiet, your own resource. Start small. 10 or 15 minutes a day, screen-free, input-free, performance-free, just being. Notice the discomfort when it comes, and then notice it softening as you become more familiar with the territory of your inner life. When you can be genuinely at ease with yourself, every relationship you have becomes freer. You're no longer in them because you need them to fill a void. You're in them because you choose to be. That's a different kind of strength. Step 7. Nourish your soul. Daily rituals, nature, movement, and breath. Energy is everything. Not the frantic, caffeinated, white-knuckle-it-through-the-afternoon kind of energy, the deep kind. The kind that makes you feel genuinely alive, willing, and capable, not just functional. That kind of energy requires tending. It doesn't just happen. In the relentless forward motion of modern life, it gets depleted constantly without being replenished. Step 7 is about replenishment. It's about the daily practices that restore you rather than drain you, and none of them are complicated. Daily rituals, morning and evening. How you start and end your day shapes everything in between. Most people begin their day by immediately handing over their attention to their phone before they've even fully woken up, before their mind has a moment of silence or intention. They're reading about what happened in the world, what their friends had for dinner, what somebody posted, and what needs a response. Their day begins reactively. It never quite recovers. Try something different tomorrow morning. Before you pick up your phone, before you check anything, give yourself 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. Drink water. That's one thing, just water, before anything else. Then, a few minutes of quiet sitting, breathing, and looking out a window, without meditating if that's not your thing, just existing gently for a few minutes before the world starts making demands. Then, if you want to set one intention for the day, not a to-do list, one intention. Today, I want to be more patient. Today, I want actually to taste my lunch. Today, I want to say what I mean. Something small. Something that makes the day feel like it belongs to you rather than to your schedule. The evening mirror of this. Before sleep, put the phone down 30 minutes early. Not as a rule you're following, as a gift you're giving your brain. It needs to wind down. It can't do that while it's processing stimulation. Take stock of the day. Not obsessively, not critically, just briefly. What went well? What could I have done differently? What was I grateful for today? Even something small. And write, if you can, even just a few sentences. Getting the day onto paper empties the mind enough to rest. Nature. The most underrated therapy. Modern life keeps us indoors, under artificial light, breathing recirculated air, and staring at screens. We evolved in the natural world over hundreds of thousands of years, yet most of us spend fewer than 30 minutes outside on a typical day. Your nervous system notices this. Even if your conscious mind has adapted to indoor life, something in your body still listens for birds. It still responds to green. It still slows down when it encounters a horizon rather than a wall. Spend time outside. Not necessarily as exercise, just as presence. 20 minutes in a park or on a tree-lined street, without headphones, just noticing your surroundings, the way the light falls, the shapes of things, the sounds. Nothing in nature is in a hurry. Trees don't rush to grow. Rivers don't rush to change direction. Everything moves at its own pace, in its own season. Being around that unhurried rhythm, even briefly, reminds your body that you don't have to run at full speed every moment of every day. Movement. Breaking the stagnation. Your body was built to move, not to perform to move. When you sit too long, when you're inactive for hours, something in you goes stagnant, not just physically, but mentally too. The stuck feeling, the heaviness, the inability to think clearly, often it's just your body asking to move. It doesn't have to be a workout, a 10-minute walk, 5 minutes of stretching when you wake up, dancing in your kitchen to a song you love. Moving your body, through your home, out your door, through the world. Movement is one of the fastest ways to shift your emotional state. When you feel anxious, low, or stuck, don't just sit there thinking about it. Move first, then think. The clarity that comes after movement is different from the clarity you try to force while sitting still. Breath, always available. And then there's the breath, the most immediate, always accessible tool you have to shift your state. Most of us breathe shallowly without realizing it. Short, quick breaths keep the body in a low-grade state of alert, never quite relaxed, never quite at rest. Try this right now as you listen. Breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for a moment. Then exhale slowly for a count of 6, longer than the inhale. Do that 3 times. Notice what happens. The exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and restore system. It signals to your body that you are safe and that there is no emergency. You can come down from the ceiling now. A few conscious breaths in a moment of stress can change everything about how you respond to it. Not by making the stressor disappear, but by giving you access to your own clarity and capability, rather than pure reactivity. You carry this with you everywhere. You can use it anytime. It costs nothing and takes seconds. Use it. Step 8. Integrate. Living with your new self. You've come a long way in these 70 minutes. Or maybe it doesn't feel that way. Maybe it feels like you've heard some things that make sense, but nothing has actually changed yet. And that's honest, because understanding something and living it are 2 completely different things. Step 8 is the bridge between the 2. Who do you want to be? Not in terms of job title or relationship status or income level, not in terms of how other people would describe you, but in terms of your actual daily existence, the way you move through your hours, the person you are when nobody is watching, the choices you make when you're not on autopilot. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be? And let the answers be behavioral, not aspirational. Not, I want to be successful, but I want to be someone who shows up fully for what I commit to. Not, I want to be happy, but I want to be someone who notices what's good in a day and actually pauses to feel it. These small behavioral definitions are what transformation is actually made of, not the big vision, the small, daily choices that accumulate over time into a person and a life. What values guide you? Your values are your compass. They tell you which direction to take when life presents a choice. But most people have never consciously identified them. They've absorbed values from their families, their culture, and their peer groups, and those values may or may not fit who they are now. What genuinely matters to you? Not what should matter, not what sounds good, what truly matters. Peace, learning, authenticity, connection, creativity, independence, service, adventure. Write them down. Keep them where you can see them. When you know your values clearly, decisions become clearer. You have a North Star. When the noise gets loud and you can't think straight, return to what you know matters and ask, what choice brings me closer to that? Sustainable rhythm over perfect performance. Here is where most transformation attempts fail. People try to change everything at once, sustain an impossible standard, slip once, and then because of that slip feel like they've failed and give up. Real change doesn't work that way. It's messy, non-linear, and iterative. It involves forgetting, remembering, and starting again. It also includes weeks when you do great and weeks when old patterns rush back. The question is never, am I doing this perfectly? It is always, can I come back? Build a realistic daily structure, not a 2-hour morning program that demands alarm-level discipline to sustain. Something small and sustainable. 10 minutes of quiet, a glass of water before the phone, a genuine breath before a difficult conversation. 3 priorities instead of 30. Review your week once a week, not to grade yourself, but to notice what helped, what was hard, what do you want to carry into next week. Be patient with yourself as a requirement, not an optional feature. You've been living with your old patterns for years, sometimes decades. You won't be able to rewire them in a week. But you will rewire them slowly, imperfectly, undeniably if you keep returning. You already know what you need. Here's the thing about all 8 steps of this journey. None of it is new. Deep down, you already knew most of it. You knew silence mattered. You knew your phone was taking more than it was giving. You knew there were emotions you'd been avoiding and thought patterns that weren't serving you. You knew your body was trying to tell you something. You knew you needed to return to yourself. This isn't a guide that introduces something new. It's a guide that helped you hear yourself more clearly. And that's what the inner journey always is. Not an arrival somewhere new, a return to who you've always been beneath everything that accumulated on top. Take ownership of your new life. Not in a dramatic way, just in the quiet, daily, consistent way of someone who has really decided that their inner world matters. That's how they feel on the inside, and that peace is worth attending to. That peace is not a luxury reserved for people with different lives, different jobs, or different circumstances. Peace is built from the inside. It's built by exactly the kind of person you are. Someone who cares enough to stop and listen. The return to yourself. We're almost at the end of our 70-minute session together. And I want to end not with a list of things to remember, but with a single image, one thing to carry with you. Imagine your inner world as a room. When you first came into this journey, the room was full. Not full in a good way, crowded. Noise from every direction. Piles of things left unaddressed. An anxiety running in the background like a fan. You'd stop noticing a version of yourself in there somewhere, trying to be heard over it all. What these 8 steps have been doing gradually and gently is clearing the room, not by forcing things out, by consciously choosing what to keep and what to release, by recognizing the emotional weight of things and deciding you don't have to carry it all. By simplifying your space, your screens, your thoughts, your expectations, until what's left is more essentially you. The room is airier now, a little quieter, lighter. And in that quiet, you can finally hear your own thoughts. You can hear what you truly want, not what you think you should want, not what other people expect you to want, but what genuinely calls to you in the voice that's been patiently waiting beneath all the noise. That voice has always been there. It was there before the busyness, before the exhaustion, before the endless list, the relentless pace, and the feeling that you were always behind. It was there when you were young and still close to yourself, when you knew what you liked, what felt right, and what made you feel alive. You can find your way back to it, not by becoming someone else, by coming home to who you already are. The 8 steps in this audiobook aren't destinations. They're habits, practices, things you return to again and again for the rest of your life, not out of discipline, but because you've experienced what it feels like when your inner world is organized, when you're not fighting yourself. When you're clear, once you know what that feels like, you'll keep choosing it. One breath at a time, one honest question at a time, one small intentional choice at a time. That's all transformation ever is. And you're already doing it. Thank you for walking this journey. Take care of yourself. Stay true to yourself. And don't forget to make space for quiet. That's where it all begins. That's you. And you are enough.